Well, welcome everyone to Monday night Introduction to Buddhism. My name's Mark. I've been a student at Tara Institute for many years. I keep saying that every time I come here because I can't believe it's been that long, but it's over 35 years. And my main teachers are His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Kabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who's the founder of this group of centres, and also the Venerable Geshe Doga, who's the resident teacher here. So yesterday we celebrated Geshe Doga's 90th birthday. So he reluctantly, I think, agreed to have an event for his birthday. But then when we actually had the event, at first he said, "Look, I haven't got much to say, you know, we wished him happy birthday." But then he launched into a very good teaching on how he came to be here as the teacher, and which was amazing, because you think, well, he was in Tibet, he was in a village, he was a young boy, he went to the monastery, and then he had to escape Tibet, arrived in India, then he ended up in, he did lots of study, he did 30 years of study to become a Geshe, so quite rigorous too. So that was all he paid his attention, that was his focus, was getting those teachings, understanding those teachings. And then when he finished, he went and did another course in India as well, which a lot of the Tibetan masters do, but he just, for him it was just, yeah, good, he did it. But then he went to Nepal in Kopan Monastery. I guess some of you were here yesterday, huh? You'd have heard this teaching, so I'm not giving it much justice, but the upshot was he could have gone anywhere, USA, Europe, Australia, but he chose reluctantly to come here after being masked a few times. And then when he arrived in Australia, he arrived in Bendigo at a Teacher Centre, and he didn't mention this yesterday, but I know this story because he said he saw the wide expanse, the Australian bush, it's pretty sparse, lots of flinty clay soil and trees that don't look as though they're going to grow very well because the conditions are dry and hot most of the time. But anyway, he looked and he thought, well, okay, it's like this. I can teach the students, but there weren't too many students at that time. There was just one or two. So anyway, the upshot was the resident Geshe at Tara Institute was leaving to go and look after his teacher who had been reborn in India, and so the opportunity came for Geshe Doga to come here. And he has, and he did, and he stayed, so which has been to our benefit really. So anyway, it was a very good celebration yesterday, and this Sunday. And while I was looking at my phone, I wasn't doom scrolling. I was actually looking to see what time. So it's Geshe Doga's going to give a White Tara empowerment on Sunday, the 20th of July, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So White Tara is the female Buddha that's practice done by people for long life and good health for themselves and for others too. So that's on. So if anyone wants to come, they're most welcome. So I don't think there's even it says you have to register, but you can do that if you want to, if you're interested. I've done it a few times, and it definitely has some impact. So tonight I'm going to just cover the topics. Actually, I should ask the question, is anyone new to Monday nights tonight? Welcome. Okay, and welcome to everyone else as well. So I'm going to cover some of the topics I touched on last week, and we'll just go into a bit more detail on those. But the first thing in Buddhism, motivation is very important. So for the period that you're listening, you're here listening to teachings, you think that you should develop. You're going to do your best to develop good qualities through listening, thinking about, and meditating. So those three things that we call the Buddhist wisdom tools. So listening, thinking about, and meditating. So why they're important is they're not things that other people can do for you. You know, that you have to do those things yourself to get any benefit. So, so if you have a positive motivation, it propels whatever action you do to be positive, negative or neutral. So if you can go, oh, I've got a positive motivation about my day, whatever comes your way, on balance you'll be able to handle without too much disturbance or fuss. And so if you can create a good motivation at the beginning, it can give you some, like a push or a little bit of momentum. So the Buddhists spend a lot of time looking at who and what the person is that is experiencing life, creating good motivation, having relationships, earning a living, living and dying. So they look at that very closely. And again, it comes back to there's no creator being that's dictating whether you're happy or not. So it comes back to the individual, the person, to determine whether that's the case. So I'm going to use one of the Buddhist school's definition of the person, and why I think this is a good one is this definition looks at right at the heart of whether problems we have are with us always, or we can be separated from those problems. In other words, can we be truly happy, or will we always be saddled with problems and problematic minds? So that's the question that's posed. So this Buddhist school talks about the definition of the person as being the subtle mental continuum that goes from lifetime to lifetime. So that ties into an important Buddhist concept that this life is not the only life, and at the end of this life, our continuum isn't just extinguished. Because some faiths have that, don't they? You die, that's it. And even those with so we can go. So if you look at so we can go, okay, if that's the subtle mental continuum, if that's the person, what about the body that we have? Is that part of me or part of the person? Yes or no, anyone? No? No? Yeah, so some Buddhist schools would agree, would go, oh yeah, look at this, the physical body and the environment and everything, it's all a projection of the mind, like it's the continuum of the mind is the thing that's determining the form and everything like that, the appearance. But this particular school that I'm looking at, they're saying even if the subtle mental continuum is the person, so Mark, at this time there's definitely a form that's Mark, isn't there? You can't really say, well, if you took away extinguish the form, where's that mental continuum of Mark at that point? So we need, it's a bit dependent, isn't it, that we have in this world, that we have a body and a mind together, coming together to make the person. But even the body that we have, it's not static, is it? So when we were a baby or a fetus, like an embryo, and then, a baby, and then we grew up. So our bodies changing and changed all the time. But we can still say, that continuum is Mark, for example. I can show a picture of myself from when I was a baby or a boy, and there's a connection between that picture and me. So that's a fair point. But we know at death, and this isn't earth-shattering, but that the body's left behind, isn't it? That we don't die and the body keeps going with us wherever we go. That generally there's our friends and family around us and the body's still there, but from a Buddhist point of view, that mental continuum at death has gone, left. So that's an important. They're Buddhist. That's a Buddhist concept too. So that there's still a continuum that we say, that was Mark. Mark lived. Mark died, and then when after Mark died, that continuum went on. Perhaps taking a new body and a new name. But if we look at if we trace, and some beings can do this because they've got the foresight, they can see, in this life you were this person, and then this one you were this person, this one, they can trace you back. So that's good, because it shows that idea of a mental continuum. It's pretty good to explain the person. So why is that subtle mental continuum of the person so important? So it's because all of the imprints of our actions, whether that's verbal actions, mental actions or physical actions, are stored on that mental continuum. So anything good we do, stored. Anything not so good that we do, it's stored. And the other concept that's tied into that idea of that mental continuum moving from lifetime to lifetime is that at some point the fruits of those actions will ripen in the future. Might ripen in this life, the next one, or many lifetimes away, but there's the capacity for those actions to ripen into results. So the nature of that subtle mental continuum is that it's described as its state is clear and knowing. The mind, that mind. So it's clear. So it's clear. Its nature is pure clear, and it can know its object very without mistake. And because it has those features, it can be freed from the afflicted minds or emotional states that bring us suffering. So there is a separation there between the person who's here and the afflicted states that, for example, I have, that if I can separate from those afflicted states, I can be happy, permanently happy. So a good example of that is when I was a teenager, I had a very my speech was very sarcastic. You've done a great job, but I wasn't really meaning. I was meaning the opposite. So I noticed that pattern in my speech very much, that it seemed to be that, and I was with friends who do the same, so, but then I thought, and this is before becoming a Buddhist, I thought, that's not such a productive pattern of speech, is it? Because essentially you're saying something to someone that sounds good but means the opposite, isn't it? You're being sarcastic, So I made an intention to try and separate myself from that habit of talking that way. So, is it possible that I've rid myself of that habit or that afflicted state of sarcasm? No? Yeah, so this is the thing with habits. So if you can apply an antidote to it, you can retrain your mind to not respond with sarcasm and respond in another manner that's perhaps more positive. And it's a good point that is that sarcasm somehow under the surface or something, you know, just bubbling away, waiting for an opportunity to spring out. But I'd say, on balance, for me, that was an example of a mind that I had that was pretty destructive and harmful, that I think, it doesn't really manifest anymore. Now, I've got other problems, don't get me wrong, but that one I go, okay, pre-Buddhist, intention to change the habit and try something else. And then, okay, doesn't it come up? Let's see, another one. This one's another one. The afflicted mind of jealousy. So, hands up anyone who's ever felt that. So, yep. So that one is lack of happiness, or a lack of happiness, or a feeling of being aggrieved that it was not you, that it's experiencing the other person's happiness. So it's effectively, how could that person be getting recognition and accolades and support, and when it should be me, you know, and I'm really unhappy that they're experiencing that any sort of happiness. So that's sort of that's jealousy. So it can happen with a relationship or a friend or a random event. So there's another one. And so I've mentioned the great teacher Lama Tsongkhapa, and he's the middle figure there. And he's great because he distilled the teachings into something that monastics could follow, but lay people could also follow. And he said that, what's the quickest way to accumulate merit? He said, rejoice. Rejoice in the happiness of others. Rejoice, rejoice, rejoice. So if someone's doing something really good, or they're getting lots of praise and accolades, if you can create the habit to rejoice in their good fortune, and that immediately breaks the habit of just feeling jealous. So it creates good merit, creates a good habit for you, and then what you find with jealousy, or what I've noticed is, probably sarcasm, it's a little bit more, it's way under the surface. And with jealousy, I'd say it's not as deep under the surface, but it's down. It's not going to come up at any time, I don't think, anyway. But so there's another one. I think, well, all right, can that be done? Can Mark separate from that afflicted state of jealousy? So, and what does that bring? So, to me, it brings peace of mind. So if I come across a situation or a person is getting lots of praise, or they're in a fabulous relationship, or their kids love them, or all those good things, or they've done a great job at work and they've been given a pat on the back or a raise or a promotion, all those things. So the first thing is well done. And so that's the first thought, if you like, the habit. And what that does is my mind's happy because it's not disturbed by the external event. The other person is really happy because perhaps it's unexpected that someone would be praising them. Because maybe the thought was, oh, Mark's a competitor, or Mark's not my friend. Why would he be saying how good a job I've done? So there's two things at play there. Anyway, that all I'm saying. So that shows, if you like, for me anyway, that mental continuum of Mark can be freed from the afflicted minds or emotional states that bring me suffering. So are there any more afflicted states that we have? Yes. Anger, yes. Anger. Yes, anger. So anger's a good one, isn't it? Because quick to rise, very destructive, and then it can disappear, huh? It's just bang, full throttle, 100 miles an hour, boom, and sometimes you won't know what hit you, so because you think, well, where did that response come from of anger? But it did. So I find that in a car. I've used this example before, but it's a really good one because you think, oh, well, I'm in a car, what could go wrong? It's all pretty good. And then someone cuts you off, and then you immediately, or you honk the horn, there's visceral sort of reactions coming up. It's good. Any other afflicted states? Arrogance. So what would you describe arrogance as?
I think it's the negative side of pride.
Yes.
Because pride can be good and bad, it depends on context.
Yep.
But arrogance is all about, every time it's about separation from others. You separate yourself from others. You look to any other person because of their race, skin color, educational level. You can find multiple reasons to think that you're much more better.
Much better.
Than not. And it's so dangerous to think like that.
Yep. Yeah, so that's an easy one to have, isn't it? Because we can always compare ourselves to others, can't we? And say, well, I'm better than him, or I'm better than her. So it's easy to do. So that's a not great, really, because you are looking at the self and then others as self here and then others here. So that's not good either. So anyway, that's part of what we're going to cover in Buddhism, really. But in this introduction to Buddhism is that. But how could we rid ourselves of arrogance?
When you're inside the state of mind, I think it's impossible. You need to step aside and look at the big picture of things.
Yeah.
Because I think that this afflicted emotion or mindset appears when you see something or somebody as a solid, not as a just point in the very long process. Because if you could see that, everything is changing every time, I'm changing, he's changing, everything is changing, and it is destroying and appearing again.
Yep. There
would be no chance for arrogance to appear.
Yep.
But because I see him or her as a solid, as an absolutely,
a solid,
eternal, almost eternal thing.
Yeah.
Of course, it's easy to separate yourself from
Yep.
it.
Yep. So one of the Dalai Lama talks about that there's two issues that human beings have to contend with. One is, and we're sort of covering one now, which is what is the person, getting a clear handle on that. So that's important because you want to see what's really there, what's really existing. And the second one is an overly self-centred mind or approach. And you, with your example of arrogance, you've just pointed to that second one, where you've got if you have an overly self-centred approach, it's easy to then think, well, look how good I am, and look how badly off you are, and then like that feeling. So, but that's easy to counter as well. So, can be done. So it's not impossible. So, and we will cover that as well in how the Buddhists in Buddhism they try and overcome these afflicted states. So in terms of a count, I think there's 86,000 afflicted states. I think that someone's counted them, but it's a big number. And they're all, I think they're all, if you like, offshoots of pretty much greed, ignorance, hatred, jealousy, arrogance. There's probably 10 main ones, and then the rest are sort of some sort of degrees of separation of those. So don't despair if you can't count the 86,000 afflicted states. But if you can get a handle on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then very good, excellent. So so why don't we do some breathing meditation? So just make yourself comfortable. So I'll just go over the guidelines for it. So the main thing with meditation is to try and keep your back straight, and you can do that while sitting on a chair or cross-legged, whatever you like. So just relax, keep your mouth closed, so you're breathing through your nose or your nostrils. And the focus of our meditation, it's going to be on the breath. So keep your hand gently on your lap, your thumbs pointing back towards the navel. And our eyes are not completely closed and not completely open, so you just want to let the impression of light in. So begin by just breathing gently through the nostrils. So imagine or visualise that as you're breathing out, all your anxieties, worries, concerns of the day are being removed. And as you're breathing in, let beautiful, enlightened energy come into you. So do that for a few moments until you feel its effects, and then switch your focus to breathing gently through the nostrils, and trying to keep your attention there on that sensation. And we'll do that for a few minutes. And if your concentration wavers and you start thinking about other things, just gently, slowly bring the attention back to the breathing. So gently bring your awareness back to the room and you can open your eyes. So from that experience of meditation, you may have seen your mind shift a little, like a little bit, so which is good to be aware of that. So even the non-Buddhists use breathing meditation to achieve a deep clarity and awareness and concentration. So it's not a, if you like, unique meditation for Buddhists. So those yogis of the non-Buddhist schools, they can, like with the afflicted states that they have, when they're meditating, the afflicted state may be there, but they can virtually see through that state and it drops away. So it becomes, it's not a part of them, if you like, almost. They can just see through it and go, okay, it's not for me. So that's powerful, isn't it? Because that effect is lasting for them. So even if they don't address the reason for those problematic states appearing in the first place, they can still penetrate through them, so which is really good. So as I mentioned before, the sole arbiter of whether a person is happy or not comes back to the person themselves. So there's no reliance on a creator being. So the Buddha is considered a teacher. So a person like us who found a way to overcome his problems and achieve happiness, and then he guided other beings to achieve the same state. So it's an atheistic religion. So that differentiates Buddhism from a lot of other religions. So another one of the Buddha's teachings was that no matter whether the action is big or small, karma has a number of features that we should remember in order to inspire us to do some form of practice. So in this respect, karma is defined as the law of cause and effect, and it's also defined as action. So what type of actions will lead to results for the person and others? Anyone like to have a guess or put one up? Like the act of generosity. We talked about this last week. So there's I feel like a positive action, and its result will be, if it's not tainted and if it's complete action, the result will be positive of that. So if you perform a positive action of generosity, the result, whenever it ripens, will be positive. So what about a negative action, like deliberately stepping on an ant? So you had some intention to step on the ant and kill the ant, and you completed the action, and you had no regret. Is that a positive or a negative action? Negative. So it's negative for the ant. Yep, because their life's been extinguished in that form, and the result is negative for you for performing that action. And we do a lot of neutral actions as well that they're neither here nor there. And we can probably just woke up, had something to eat, brushed my teeth. That you think, well, there's not much happening there. It's just maybe in a fog we've done them, and it's hard to determine whether the result will be positive or negative in that respect. So that's the law of cause and effect, or karma, or action. So does anyone have any questions about that concept?
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
I have. I'd like to follow that and acceptable. What I can't come to terms with is things like an aeroplane crash. And so, in a
Yeah.
problem. I understand the generosity, and I've seen that cause and effect work, and I've seen karma effect work. But when I look at the extreme examples, that's what I have trouble coming to.
Yes.
My own mind.
Yeah, so we have, that's a really very good point, because really you're thinking, okay, I've described this individual mental continuum of the person that's, creating karma, experiencing karma, storing karma, etc. And then you've got this collective experience, like you've said, an airline tragedy. And I think we had one recently, wasn't it, in India? The plane took off and then suddenly the fuel was turned off or something, and then it just crashed. So all those people on board died. So it's like, anyway, so there is some, there are a number of different karmic results. So the first one is similar to the result, similar to the cause. So I've been generous, and the result will be I've got the habit, developed the habit to be generous. That's good. That's a real positive, isn't it? And then the result, though, for our experience is we'll experience generosity. So that's one aspect. And you can see that's pretty individual, isn't it? That one. The other one is, it's called a fruition or fruitional result. So the result of generosity is being reborn as a wealthy, long-life God. So wealthy, because the act of generosity, and long-lived. So not wanting for anything, full of opulence, etc. So there's two. And then the third one is, and this is the one I think I'll explain, this is the result of the environment. So it's an environmental result. So with the act of generosity, you could say that the result of the environment is wherever you are, your life is supported fully with all conditions to sustain that life. And the flip of that is there's a collective experience, isn't there? Because if you're born in a place where if you're completely supported and etc., then the people around you are probably in the same boat, huh? They're not going to be, oh well, they're all paupers while you're. So that's the same with a tragedy like that, airline disaster. There's something that connects them that leads to a common experience. And it's not great, because you think, well, what did 500 people do that in an instant their lives are extinguished? So, but that's the explanation. So there's no, if you like, from a Buddhist perspective, there's no creator that's tapping and going, well, now's the time for that plane to crash, or for its fuel to be switched off. There's nothing like that. It's all back to collectively those people, and not from that life, because you go there, they're not aware of what's going to happen. But it's just, that's the explanation. So so that's an environmental result, isn't it? That suddenly their environment was, well, we're all on holiday, we're all sharing that, we're all flying off, and then it's finished, and you go. Yeah.
From different parts of the world.
Yep. Yeah, and we share that too now. So we share a collective experience, don't we? Together tonight, there's some collective, if you like, experience of result by being here together in a nice warm, gompa and being comfortable, being in Melbourne and all the rest of it. So there is that there, and it's the same with the converse, where you go, okay, people coming from different places, but all of a sudden they're in a terrible tragedy, something has ripened, and it's the environmental result. Not easy to get around, because as you mentioned, you could have an older man like me and a baby on the same plane. And you're going, well, what's the connection? No, no connection at all, or nothing you think, but then you think there must be something that drew us together, and then the tragedy occurred. So those types of karmic result, they can be positive or negative, and in some cases neutral, but mostly it's one or the other. And then the fourth is karma. It has 4 features. So one can increase. So a small act of generosity and it's stored on your mental continuum. The ripening result might be a lot more than the initial act of generosity. So it can increase. So that's good. So if we're performing very good, good actions, that's good. That's what you want. And if you're performing lots of negative actions, it's not so good, is it? Because the opposite's occurring. You're creating bad habits, but also you're creating conditions for future suffering. So the second feature of karma is that it's definite. So it's definite. So it's okay. It's going to ripen. That's what that means. It's hard to say when it will ripen, but that's another feature, that act of generosity, it's not going to just sit there on your continuum forever. Eventually it will ripen. Another feature of karma is the previous karma cannot be destroyed. Does anyone see any problems with that? That's what it says. So does anyone see any problems with that statement? Yeah, what would you see as a problem with that?
Because if you were trying to create better habits and you had bad habits, like anger or whatever,
Yep.
and then you can't get rid of that karma, you've already bad karma you created by doing good karma.
Yes, it's there.
It's there.
Yeah. So that is a problem, isn't it? Because you're going, well, if I've got this storehouse of karma that's not so good, and even if I'm creating lots of good karma from this day forward, lots of good habits, lots of good actions, that store of negative karma can't be destroyed.
In this case, what's going on during purification practice?
Yeah, so there
About destroying
yeah, so there are.
negative karma.
These are just the features. So they're talking about, but then it comes to, well, can we do anything about it? But the bald statement though sounds as though, well, no, you can't.
If you don't do anything.
If you don't do anything, you just go, yeah. So, and then the last one is good. So this one is the other. The fourth feature is, one is not able to experience karma for actions one has not created. So whatever Mark creates on his continuum, it's for me to experience, huh? So that continuum of the person, if you like, is distinct. The person is distinct. So there's not 2 marks, is there? Because it's just a distinct mark and quite discrete, as in even if we had beings that were together, there'd still be a discrete mark. Mark wouldn't morph into 2 or 3 beings, if you like. So there's still, whatever happens, the one will experience the karma one has created. So, and I mentioned this example last week, so we'll touch on it a bit more. So, let's see, if you create an act of, or perform an act of generosity, who will experience that result? What about the person sitting next to you? Ah, yes, That's good. Yeah, so that's excellent. So there's the connection. But what if they didn't? They just sat there, just will they get anything out of your good action, great action of generosity? No, there's no connection. Unless they make the connection, there's no connection. So whatever they experience is what they create. And that's why Lama Tsongkhapa's teaching on rejoicing is so good, because you can be sitting down, not moving, not doing anything, no effort, but you can be rejoicing at everyone's very good actions, and you'll generate merit for yourself. Good habits, but also positive store of merit. So that's good. So he said that's the best way to generate positive karma or potential. So the best and easiest way. So So if, when I die, there's no crossover between me and another person, as in it will be my continuum that dies and is reborn. It won't. There's no like, oh well, Mark died and then John came onto the scene and John was reborn and had Mark's continuum. There's no crossover of that. It's just completely discrete. What's that? Yeah, that's right. You might want that. Someone might go, oh, geez, Mark's had it good. He's surrounded by good teachers. He's done a little bit of work, and he's died. Well, I'll jump on the bandwagon, and it doesn't work like that. So that's interesting, because someone might have the desire to go, well, I really want what Mark's going to get in the next lifetime, and I'll jump on, and Mark can just disappear by the wayside, or maybe we'll swap. Yeah. But that doesn't happen. So that's interesting as well, because you go, well, what can we do? What can we do? So we have to. So we can only experience karma or results that we have created. So. Have a question? Yeah. No? Okay. Okay. So they're all deep Buddhist concepts. So So the reason for the discussion on the law of cause and effect, and or karma, and then rebirth, and then also the mental continuum we have is, in Buddhism they're trying to get to the idea of, well, can that person generate happiness or not? And that was the Buddha's teaching as well. You can separate from these problematic states. And if you can, then you'll have happiness. So yesterday Geshe-la mentioned, his students, he's always encouraging them to have more patience. And patience being an antidote to anger as well. Instead of getting riled up or upset or aggrieved, just to have patience. So patience can be cultivated. I think that's what he was. He wasn't saying that because I think he said, well, I've taught you that so many times, you should be practicing that. But that's what he was getting at. It's like, okay, you develop more patience, then things work out. Actually, he used that term a bit, things find a way of working out if you develop more patience. So So that's where the idea of a positive outlook on a situation will enable you to deal with whatever challenges come to you in life. So if you start off with a positive outlook, then that has a direct bearing on your experience, as opposed to a negative outlook to a situation or the day or your life. that has a bearing as well, but it tends to be the other way, huh? It tends to be more, nothing works out for me, it's, it's hopeless, I'm hopeless. So the result is generally just that. We get that self-reinforcing experience that, well, yeah, of course it wouldn't work out for me because I'm not really good and I'm not I'm hopeless, etc. So we flip that around realistically and go, well, okay, I'll try and have a positive outlook on whatever I encounter, and then whatever challenges come to me, I'll deal with. So there's a few ways to look at that. So whatever happens, I can handle it, and it need not affect my sense of happiness and well-being. Does anyone see any flaws in that sort of line of thought? Does it?
Nice in theory.
Nice in theory, yeah, okay. Very good. So that's right, it's nice in theory, but it takes practice. So a habit, good habit, you have to develop that. And that's why if you start with a good motivation during the day and reinforce it, then it can become self-perpetuating. What about this one? This is another positive outlook. So yes, this situation is a challenge for me. What can I do? What actions can I take? Any flaws in that one? No? Okay.
If you feel like it's completely out of your control, the situation, you can still feel overwhelmed.
Yes. So I always go back to the Dalai Lama's his wisdom saying, he said, if you can do something about a situation, as in what can I do and what action can I take, then why worry? Because I think that's a habit we have, or propensity we have, is to over-catastrophize what could happen. Like, oh gosh, this is going to be, and then invariably it's maybe not quite as catastrophic, but anyway, what actions can I do, and therefore I can do something so I won't worry so much. And then he said the flip of that, the vice versa. He said, if you can't do something about a situation, then why worry about it? That was amazing. I thought, well, hold on, yeah, that's true, isn't it? Why worry about you worrying about something if you can't do anything about it? It's going to happen, whatever happens. You go, okay. And then, so he was trying to say you can still keep a happiness level even in the midst of some sort of change up and down. So, but personally, I like the one where, what can I do, what action can I take? Because I'm a very action-oriented person. So I tend to go, oh gosh, another problem, and then I go, well, what can I do? How can I fix it, or what solution can I put to it? And that helps me a bit, because I don't get upset, I just work through it. So here's another one. Actually, we've only got a few minutes, but I'll go. I have set a good motivation for my day. Whatever occurs is within my capacity to deal with positively. Any issues with that one? I have set a good motivation to start my day. Whatever occurs, it is within my capacity to deal with positively. So you're still having to deal with it, it's just you're going to deal with it positively, so not feel like, oh gosh, it's terrible, but okay, it's come, I'm going to deal with it, okay. Here's another one. That cold that I have, is just my past negative actions ripening on me. At least it is burning up my negative actions. So that's looking at karmic results a little bit. That the cold that you're experiencing is just karmic result coming up. Is it permanent, generally, with a cold? No. Sometimes it feels like it though, doesn't it? In Melbourne, you're going, oh man, it's so cold, and I've got a cold, and my nose is dribbling, and I've got a fever, but it generally passes, huh? That person was mean to me. oh well. So that one's acknowledgement that it's the person is being mean to you, but okay. You're trying to acknowledge it, but not respond with anger or upset to that situation. And the last one I've got for tonight is that good fortune was unexpected. I won't waste it. Because sometimes we get an abundance of good things happening to us, and we may fritter them away, as in, the guy, that'll always be the case. I'll do something with that another time, or I won't take it. So it's like, oh no, it's actually I won't waste whatever good things have ripened. I'm gonna utilise them. So I think we've run out of time to do another meditation. But we've covered a fair bit of ground. So anyway, in the next 2 weeks we'll go over a little bit more, and then a little bit deeper, and then we'll see how we go with doing a little bit of breathing meditation and then analytical meditation. So breathing meditation we've done, and that's really to calm that mind and subdue it, make it more clear, happy. And then we'll do an analytical meditation in conjunction with that next week, and that will be to investigate problematic states, afflicted states, and just see if there's anything we can do about them through meditation. So in the Buddhist technique, it's guided. And who's guiding it? Who? You are, that's right. It's not, the person talking is directing perhaps, but the person meditating is guiding the meditation. So it's quite different from, I've seen a fair bit of stuff on mindfulness meditation. I think that's what it's, mindfulness meditation, where they put people in groups and they go through past traumas and try and relive them, but there's no technique. So effectively they're just reliving the past trauma, and there's no one or nothing guiding them on how to deal with it, and there's no one saying, well, if it gets too intense, step back, or this feeling will change and disappear. So with Buddhist meditation, you learn you learn how to be your own guide, if you like, through the meditation, which is good, because that's what the analytical meditation is about. You're controlling how deep you go, step back if you need to, focus on the breathing if you need to, and then you get some insight that's yours, so, and not damaging. So anyway, we'll do that in the coming weeks. Okay, so it's 9 o'clock. So we have tea and cake, I believe. Yep. But let's do quick dedication. So last week we dedicated for our own happiness and the happiness of those around us. So this week we'll do the same. So we'll dedicate any merits that we've accumulated tonight for our own development of happiness and the happiness of those around us. Okay, thank you everyone.